Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of the 5-Minute Motivator. This is Bill Shaka. Welcome to my home in beautiful Tamarindo, Costa Rica. And just remember that these 5-Minute Motivators are one-take wonders. Okay, so I'm hearing the howler monkeys right now. They're kind of loud and boisterous this morning. Maybe it's mating season, I don't know. There's also a lot of groundskeepers around doing things to keep the vegetation at bay. So that we don't become part of the jungle. Anyway, just keep that in mind as we go through this, that you may be hearing some exogenous noises throughout the 5-Minute Motivator. The goal here is not to make this perfectly produced. The goal here is just to give you something to chew on for the rest of today, some little bit of information or knowledge. Okay, so what do we want to talk about today? You've all had good bosses, correct? You've all had, well, lousy bosses, is that correct? You may think that it's better to work for a good boss, and in terms of emotional overhead, it is. But while we can learn from good bosses, we can also learn from bad bosses. I sat here yesterday thinking about some of the bosses that I've had, the good ones, the coaches, the leaders, the mentors, etc. And I thought about some of the poor ones that I've had also. And I realized that I can learn just as much from the bad ones. Let me go over a couple ideas with you here. Let me go over 5 things that bad bosses don't want you to get good at. The first is this. A bad boss does not want you to be a good delegator. They want you to do the work. They're probably overworked, they're probably stressed out, and they think everybody else should be too. So they want to continuously lay the burden on your back and not let you up from it. Become a good delegator. Remember, delegation is education. The more that you delegate work to your employees, the more educated they become, and the more they have the ability to rise through the organization. Don't believe that mindset that you become disposable if you delegate too much. I have never heard anybody being fired because they delegated too much. I've heard of people being fired because they didn't do anything, but never because they delegated too much. The second thing bad bosses don't want you to be is effective communicators. They want you to keep to yourself, because the more that you communicate, the more that you're going to have the ability to work closer with people. Delegation and communication work hand in hand. If they don't want you to be a good delegator, they probably don't want you to be a good communicator. Now, maybe this is a 3-sided coin: delegation, communication. The third thing a bad boss doesn't want you to do is to be a good networker, especially with their boss. Okay, they don't like that. All right, because ultimately, when you look at this notion of a bad boss or a poor manager, psychologically, what it has to do is with a very low level of self-esteem. So they got to a particular position, and what they're going to do is everything in their power to hang on to that. So now that you're under their thumb, so to speak, they don't want you to delegate, they don't want you to communicate, and they certainly don't want you to network. Think about why. The last thing they want you to do is to network within the organization, to find a different job within the organization, and to then start talking poorly about them. So they want to keep you under that level of control. Could this be called micromanaging? It could be called micromanaging. It could also be called dictatorial managing. Okay? Here's the fourth thing that a poor boss, a bad boss, doesn't want you to do. They don't want you to be a good time manager. They don't want you to be able to check all the boxes and fill all of the lines in and have time left over to do other stuff. They want to make sure that you're busy and that they have control over the activities that keep you busy. Okay, so that's time management. And finally, a bad boss, they don't want you to be happy. They don't want you to be happy in general, but more specifically, they want you to look at the job as a grind. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at these 5 things, and this is not research, I've done this from experience. I've looked at several of the bad bosses that I've had. When you look at the inability to delegate, communicate, network, manage your time, or be happy, you have fallen into the trap of your bad boss. What can I say to you? Don't do that. This is Bill Shaka, thanking you for your time. Looking forward to seeing you on the other side.